What is it that drives you? What's your what created your passion for cost savings? For me, it started many years ago. I was given a store operation and it was losing money. My boss said, here, you're gonna run the store for 6 months and I'm gonna close it. I knew I had to make money, but I had to figure out how to save money. I wanted to save my job. That created passion. Remember the first time you went to your boss and said, I got a new contract and we're saving money. Remember that first time? My boss said, get a little bit more. Now, remember, for those of you that have iAnalyze, do you remember the day that you got your finance division to approve the purchase of iAnalyze for you to use it? And you go, what am I going to do now? We made the investment, now the onus is on me. Well, so because you've got your passion for cost savings, your pride in what you do, and now you've got to get this iAnalyze tool implemented. Here we are today to talk about it, and here's my journey. My journey included the dream, the tool and the project, the analysis, engaging the Global Sourcing Council, the Sourcing Council's whole hard work, and then the savings. Our dream. There we go. We wanted to have a tool that could give us global knowledge of what we're spending. How much were we spending with our suppliers? How much were we spending across operating groups? How much were we spending within operating groups? And also what we were spending by category. We wanted the knowledge so we could devise a strategy on how to manage our spend. Without a strategy, you really can't move forward. So one of the things we wanted to do, we thought, well, we should probably create a Global Sourcing Council to help us drive the initiatives from finance. And then with the knowledge that we gained from our analysis from iAnalyze, we'd be able to communicate our strategy back to the Global Sourcing Council and be able to move forward and have them work with us to get the cost savings that we need. So our Global Sourcing Council was formed about 2 years ago. For those of you, who has a Global Sourcing Council here? Raise a hand. One. So the Global Sourcing Council was made up of folks from Carlson Travel, Carlson Hotels, TGI Fridays, and Carlson Corporate. We went to the leadership of each of those businesses and said, who within strategic sourcing do you want to be on this council? And we had to bring people in from Asia Pacific, EMEA, in the United States and the UK. So that was the nucleus of our team. Our first year's goal was about $3 million, which we attained. Of course, our CEO said, well, you guys are sandbagging us, you can do better. And my boss goes, yeah, we'll double that this next year. But of course, that's another story. Then the next thing is we realized our dream by bringing in iAnalyze. iAnalyze is a Zycus tool that helps you consolidate all of your spend from many different sources and be able to look at it from a rational perspective. We set up our taxonomy using the UNSPSC codes, United Nations Standard Product Service Code. We chose that because we felt that that would give us enough detail by products through everything that we're reporting into the tool. Then we started gathering the data. Boy, that was not an easy task. Let me tell you, when you have people all over the globe and they have data, they have it in all different formats. Some people have it in a database, some people have it in a spreadsheet, some people just get it from their suppliers. So we had to figure out how to gather that data. So the first part of our project was to gather the data. In Europe, they have a database, and it had euros and dollars and rubles and all different currencies. Well, that's going to be a problem because we're going to have to normalize all those currencies. Fortunately, iAnalyze helps do that. In the United States, we had our TGI Fridays had a procurement data sourcing tool, and that was easy to get their information. Within Oracle, ago, we were able to pull that from Carlson Finance. And that was a lot of data, but not quite as in-depth as we wanted. So we actually went to some of our suppliers and pulled reports. We went to our telecom management supplier and pulled all the information on our wireless devices. We pulled all the information on our wireline spend, so we could get down to the detail of minutes and devices and plans, because you can't get that out of Oracle. We also went to, one of our operating groups really couldn't give us anything. They were so diverse and had so many finance people across the globe. We just said, okay, we have to start somewhere, so we'll give them what we have out of Oracle, but the rest of the information, we're just going to have to see if we can get them the following year. From hotels, we were able to get information from our food and beverage suppliers, the people that provide us operating supplies and equipment, and they were able to give us, by spreadsheet, all the information we get: product type, product code, cost per unit, everything that we needed, so that we were able to give all that information to Zycus. And we said, Zycus, normalize our data. And they did. They were able to create one vast flat file in the tool, so that now everything could be looked at from different inquiries within the tool. Now we know from the information we have, what is our total spend? At this point, we have over $2 billion in the tool. We can see common spend across operating groups. This was really a key thing that we needed in order to drive getting the Global Sourcing Council to accept our analysis. We can see common spend across global operating groups. Imagine your hotels. It was so nice to see. Gee, you buy Simmons mattresses just like we do in the United States. Early mortality syndrome with shrimp. So that means most of our sources for shrimp in the supply chain, they're dying and supply is short. So we had to go look across the globe to see where can we get shrimp. So we found out in the Far East, shrimp is thriving, and we're able to fill in our supply for our hotels and restaurants globally for a new supply chain. Then joint process improvement, contract versus off contract. We said we want to have as many things under contract as we can. Even if it's under a GPO, that's okay. We just know then that we're getting things, we're looking at things, getting them under a contract. And one of the analysis we just came up with last week is we still have thousands of suppliers where we've only purchased one item from them in the last year. And there's thousands of items we spent and millions of dollars spent buying one thing from one supplier once. Why are we doing that? So those are questions that are coming out from this data now that we didn't have visibility before. Then product specification improvement. Optimize the life cycle cost. So being really more involved in supply chain management. We're looking at our fitness equipment, for example. What does it take to get it shipped into the hotel? What can we do to manage the installation and the lockdown of the equipment? So when you go to Radisson, you want to use the new Life Fitness equipment. You want it to work, so it has to be under maintenance. What can we do to standardize the maintenance? What can we do to make sure that when that equipment is 5 years old, we can get it out safely and get new equipment in? So by looking at the entire life cycle of the product, we're starting to roll out that strategy product after product, category by category. Now, of course, we did all this scheming in February, and the hard work really begins. So we have a web conference every other week where everyone from the team in Asia, Europe, and the United States meets. So we meet usually around 7:30 in the morning because it's about evening in Asia, it's afternoon in Europe. Sometimes we meet in the evening in the United States where it's morning, in Europe or in Asia. And so we try to vary our times to make sure everybody gets a fair shake at being able to participate. Then within these, we form subcommittees. So I was really interested in a couple of the categories that we had talked about. So I said, I'll be on the subcommittee, and so we'll meet away from the Global Sourcing Council and talk about what do we want to do with this category. Are we going to do a competitive bid? Are we going to do an RFP? And then we'll come back and we'll report back to the Global Sourcing Council with what our decision is. Of course, we track our projects. We don't have iSave, which Matt talked about in the previous meeting. But we do use a spreadsheet, and we use what we call sourcing value contribution reports that we roll up all the way up to the chief accounting officer. We also talk about, with RFPs, one thing that we did this year was we implemented a new RFP tool. It's called iAnalyze, for anyone that's interested. And this tool allows us to do reverse auctions, Dutch auctions, sealed bids, and it allows us to import lots of information, a lot, which would be all the different products. So if you had 300 products like we are doing for office supplies, we get to have every supply company fill in those categories of pricing, and then the tool automatically calculates from where we were before to where we are now to calculate the percentage of savings. That's, so we're able to now push our RFPs through faster. We're conducting RFPs. It might take us a month to set them up, but we're running an RFP within 2 weeks, getting a decision, and then going to contract. So we're able to do more contracts and RFPs in an annual cycle now by improving that process. We share our contracts. Like I said before, we had 4 contracts with one supplier. We're looking at every contract we can, saying, why do you have a contract with this person when we have a contract with this company? So we're having a lot of back and forth discussion. And then we do additional data gathering. Oh, well, gee, our pricing is set based on the total number of hotel rooms in the United States. How many hotels do you have in EMEA? So we don't know all that information. We know sales, we know all these things, but now we're able to get more detail into what each operating group has in terms of information, and then bring that information together to leverage for greater pricing, advantage from the suppliers. All right, the savings. So from the top 6 initiatives, 3 accomplished $3 million with the savings. The other 3 initiatives, one was chemicals. It got pushed to 2014. And so we missed out on that opportunity. We had the seafood with the shrimp. Price went up. We just had to abandon that particular category. And then food and beverage. We couldn't put together a standard this year for hotels and restaurants to purchase, so that got abandoned. So $3 million. Well, the sub-projects that we had that came out of all these other discussions generated $3 million. I know it says $2 million, but I'm happy to report we've got another $1 million in the last 30 days since I started drafting this. So we really are moving forward. The synergy with our global sourcing team has really helped us come up with more ways to save money for the company.